Okay, so here is the best case scenario, and I'm not, my friends, I'm not saying this. I've been somebody who, along with a very small handful of people online and on my various platforms and shows, have been saying we need to rethink how much damage we're willing to do to the economy and for how long. And if you do this, you get called Joseph Stalin, a mass murderer. I'm just like, can we just, I mean, okay, fine. We've all agreed now that lockdown is the way to go, even though I'm going to tell you about the Sweden model later. There's some, what does lockdown really mean and how long? And, there's so much. Just lockdown feels like a knee-jerk response as a term, right? What does lockdown specifically indicate for different areas? But here's the economic miracle that they think is going to happen. I think it's fair to call it a miracle. I mean, if we get through this and we don't enter, we're going to be in a depression for a few months. But it's an intentional depression. It's almost like when you put a body into a medically induced coma so that you can then deal with a problem that would kill the person otherwise, and then you bring the person out of the medically induced coma. The way this is supposed to work is that the government is going to just keep shoveling money to people. And I don't say that disparagingly. The government should. The government has said you can't do anything. You're not allowed to work. Your business. And based on the polling I'm seeing, a lot of people are still working in some capacity, but you're not really allowed to. Now, part of the problem is people are going to realize that even if you can work remotely, or even if you are still going to your job, the reduction in the economy is going to start affecting things, even for those who are working, like wages. I have friends who already have received massive pay reductions. Just send an email by their company, by their employer. Sorry, you're now taking a 25, 30, 35% pay cut. No ifs, ands, or buts. And it's no one's fault, right? It's just this is what's going to happen. People are getting furloughed, meaning they're not getting paid, but they're at least on health insurance. They can be brought back. These are the short-term measures. If this is short-term, and again, I'm telling you, I'm not making my argument. I'm looking at this saying I think that we're rolling the dice with the future of the entire country in a sense here. But maybe it comes up. What's good? What do you want on? I don't know enough about gambling. What's good on dice? You don't want snake eyes. I know that. That's ones. Do you want sixes? What's the best thing with rolling dice? Come on, Mark.
You're asking the wrong person.
I feel like you are probably one of these guys that doesn't talk about it, but you have like a suite named after you in Atlantic City or Vegas or something, and you're like a high roller.
I'm way too cheap to gamble.
Ah, okay. Well, whatever the good dice number is, I feel like maybe we get that with the economy, and this is what the plan. By the way, please don't be mad at me and write me an email or write me a note saying, "Buck, why do you believe?" I'm not saying I believe them. I'm just telling you what has been explained to me by people who. And I'm not doing a very good job of explaining it today because I'm trying to just not be Mr. Gloom and Doom. But they are essentially saying the induced coma analogy is what we're talking about. Yes, we are going to a coma. This is an induced depression. And the induced depression is something that they believe once we get economic activity going again, we can be pulled out of. And there will be some problems. And I'll talk a little bit about where that is, where I see that happening. When I say some problems, I mean massive problems, right? It's tough to use the appropriate language here, but we'll come out of this, and what we won't have is a depression that stretches and grinds on and on. And, a big part of the depression, people think of the stock market of 1929 led to the Great Depression. That's not true. There were a lot of government actions after the stock market went all the way down that made the Great Depression much longer and much worse. And there's a few people that have done extensive studies on this, but really a lot of the New Deal policies and a lot of what FDR did extended the Great Depression, made it a lot worse than it would have otherwise been. Okay, so people don't like to hear that. Libs certainly don't want to hear that. That's the truth. Can we be in an induced depression and then just come out of it? I don't have an answer for you. I don't know. That's what the gamble is right now. Now, if that's true, if the Mnuchin Trump administration ploy here, if their strategy plays out the way that they have planned it, they're just doing this cash infusions to everybody. And within a few months' time, and it is a few months, I'm telling you right now, because I don't want to have the disappointing show where I'm like, it's the end of April, guys. And guess what? It's going to, We're not going back to work until June at the earliest, in my estimation. Okay. But assuming that they're right, then they'll be able to endure until that point. Then a lot of people get pulled back into their companies because they've been paid by those companies to not work because the government's giving their employers money to do that. Look, it's a massively complicated. No one's ever done this before. I mean, this is a massively complicated thing. If the Trump administration pulls this off, I would note it is a miracle, and they deserve re-election and then some. So they're thinking that they can bring down all this economic activity. It is horrifically painful and scary and bad, but they're saying the alternative is hundreds of thousands of people dead. This is where you get into these calculations, these massive societal calculations, these very tough choices that are being made by the government and by individuals, how much risk they'll take personally. But if they are right, this then comes back online and we get growth happening pretty quickly, and there'll be some stop-start and there'll be some problems, but effectively they will freeze and then unfreeze the economy. And there's a lot that comes with that. Will they try this again in the future? I think the answer is yes. Will they say it about the pandemic? But I think there are also maybe pushes for the environment, for the Green New Deal. We need to shut down this or that for a while. We need to not drive cars for a month. But this is down the line. Let's first get past the horrific pandemic virus. That is the best case scenario from the other side. That is what they're telling you. I leave it to you right now to mull over whether you think that's even a better than 50-50 chance of being true.
Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.